to another DorkLair action figure review. Today I'm taking a look at the Mythic Legions Bishop the Horse from the Necronominus wave. Back in the early 2000s, there was a movie called A Knight's Tale that came out, and I went to go see that movie specifically because I wanted to see on the big screen the kinds of jousting tournaments that were described in A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I loved those books at the time, and I've always been just like very interested in that stuff because of Martin's descriptions. I'm not a historical expert. I'm not going to be able to tell you what anything is called on the horse and the tack and like all that stuff. But to me, like the heraldry and the pageantry of it all, and just like the big epic armor and the lance, the huge long lance, and all of the detail of everything, it's almost like a dream come true. It's like having something out of the pages of A Song of Ice and Fire, like right here, that on your shelf, that you can just like admire and look at. The details on this thing are incredible. When you couple it with Gideon, this just is the full package. Like, you have all the cloth goods, you have the new armor part, you have that helmet or mask on the horse, that armor on the horse's head, you have Gideon on there, the lance is incredibly detailed. Like, just the whole package is pretty mind-blowing, and like I said, pretty much a dream come true in terms of just having like that knight with a lance on a horse galloping through your collection. So cool. Now, let's get into this review. Zooming in for a close-up of Bishop, we've got the standard horse. So under all of this is your standard Mythic Legions horse. This time it's in white. I'll pull all the stuff off later so that you can see it, as well as the alternate head. But it does come, sort of its standard look is going to be the armor, the, Gideon's armor, right? Like the Heaven's Brand, Aetheron, like look here. And so we got this helmet piece here that's got really very similar to the other horses. It's got the same straps coming off of it, but it's got this beautifully ornate sculpture. It's really nicely sculpted. It's just super crisp and sharp, a lot of depth to it. You got a couple colors there with the gold, and then you have like the silver down in the middle, little blue accent on the side here, matching neck armor up top. You can get a look at that, and that pegs into a couple holes here. It's a little on the looser side. Like, I wish it were a little bit tighter there, like a little snugger fit, but I think it's just tricky because you're going to have stuff coming into contact here and potentially stuff coming into contact up top here. So it's just kind of the nature of the beast where things are touching each other and they can kind of knock each other loose a little bit. And then we have the chest armor over here. Really nice looking piece. It's got kind of like a emblem up front here, a crest, if you will. You've got like hinges sculpted in there. These are obviously just part of the sculpt. It's not like a functionally hinged piece, but you get a sense that you could kind of see how the squire might put this on there. Matching armor piece around the back. The tail comes out of a hole here, and so like if you want to take everything off, you do have to remove the tail. But yeah, so really cool armor pieces. And then you have the standard saddle, but this time we don't have the standard blanket underneath. We actually have a cloth goods blanket. It does come with an alternate standard blanket, so you don't have to go fully ornate. But for this look, you're going to want to use, with all these cloth goods and stuff, you'll want to use this blanket here. And the saddle is nicely sculpted. It definitely has that leathery look with some wash and some silver details, really nicely painted, as all of the horses have been. You do have this strap underneath. That piece pegs in right here. You can actually see the top of the peg right there. That piece pegs in there. The stirrups are adjustable, so you could take the stirrup and you could bring it down one and put it down here if you wanted to put like a brute scale figure on here. And one of the real highlights of this figure are all of these beautiful cloth goods. So similar to Gideon Heaven's Brand, you have the cloth goods that have that gold edge to them and the Aetheron emblem, and then you have now added this metallic gold piece with the tassels hanging down, and then that gets repeated on each leg. So smaller ones on the front legs and then bigger ones on the hind legs. And it's just, it all just comes together beautifully to make this like super, you know, ornate, beautiful, like almost pageantry type horse right here. And here it is at a more head-on angle as we get into the size. Standing fully upright like this to the top of the ears is almost 9 inches tall. Getting into comparisons, I've done plenty of videos of horses and I've put other figures on them, so I'm not going to get too crazy with like putting other figures on them. But here's a look at it next to the standard Mythic Legions horse, Balius, and as you can tell, same horse, same sculpture and everything. It's just that they have different accessories. And of course, Bishop has all that armor on there. Boreas, and you can tell Boreas has a little bit different, like Boreas has the different lower legs that have more fur, like more of like that heavy horse kind of look to it. But a look at Boreas with Bishop. I did want to share one figure outside of Legions that I think looks pretty cool with Bishop, and that is the Dungeons and Dragons Strongheart from NECA Toys. This figure is pretty big. Like, these NECA figures are rather tall, but the Mythic Legions horses are also pretty big as well. So it actually works pretty good. Like, this Strongheart figure looks pretty good with Bishop. And then here's Strongheart on Bishop, and I think this looks pretty good as well. He does sit high because he's got that thick skirt. It's almost like he's standing up in the stirrups rather than sitting down. You probably could mess with it a little bit more than I have and try to get him a little bit lower. If you were to like heat up that skirt and bend it around the saddle a little bit, you could probably, you know, get a slightly better like lower seated look. But honestly, this looks pretty good. Strongheart looks good on Bishop. Okay, for accessories, it does come with stuff to give it this alternate look. So this is just like your basic white horse with an alternate bridle here with the reins that come attached to it. And then it's got an alternate collar down here in the front and an alternate blanket here. This is like the standard blanket that all of the horses come with. And then when you do the Bishop look, like it's got a cloth blanket. So that's one other look that you can do. And of course you can always mix and match the different tack and pieces with the other horses from the line. And it comes with an alternate undead horse head with a partial skull revealed over here. This is after Maxilius cuts him down on the battlefield and Necronominus raises him back up as an undead horse. So that's really cool there. This bridle here in the package, it comes on this head. Now, when you're changing parts, I would suggest using a lot of heat. If you heat these heads up and you heat the bridle up and you heat these little leathery pieces up, it'll get really nice and soft. And like this stuff here will become kind of squishy and you'll be able to just like really work with it nicely and get it on and off pretty easily. Just make sure you apply heat when you do that, because that's going to be the easiest way to pop and swap stuff. When you're swapping the saddle, this piece right here just pops out just like that, and then the saddle pops off. The hair piece can be a little tricky. It's kind of hard. Like you can see it's rising up here. It's kind of hard to get all these little pegs pegged in. I don't know if I can show it here, but yeah. So all these pegs here have to be lined up with this stuff inside here, especially these two round pegs. And it can be very tricky because you can't really see it when you're trying to line it up. And so you got to almost go on faith and move a little bit and try another spot and lift it up and look underneath. And it can be just kind of a little pain in the butt. So little trial and error on that. It takes some time. And then this collar piece, if you remove the head right here, you'll see there's just like a gap filler here, and then there's a straight peg, and then you can remove that collar just like that. And then here's a look at the lance. It's got kind of a two-tone look to it. There's like these silver accents on some of the raised parts, and there's a lot of stuff. You got like a spiral detail up in here, and then you got a straight shaft. This is a separate piece, so it does come apart. And then up in the tip, that is another piece. So it collapses down to be a pretty compact little piece. But when you put it all together, it's long. It's like, I don't know, over 12 inches long, maybe about a foot long, somewhere in that range. But yeah, so really cool piece right there with that lance. And just while I have them off, here's a look at some of the other bits and pieces. We do have the mask there, the armored horse mask. And then we have the back piece, and that's got the bedroll attached to it, and then that plugs into the saddle. So there's that piece. Then there's the front piece right here. And of course, you've got all that cloth goods. You know, you just kind of like stick it through the tail and through the neck right there, all that cloth goods. And then here's that neck piece. And then the other piece of cloth is the blanket right there. So, I mean, this thing comes with a lot of stuff. When you start to like look at all the little separate pieces it comes with, it's pretty loaded. And Bishop does have the little piece at the top of the mane. I just didn't have it on earlier. That kind of like, it's got a little slot that just slides in under that. You go under the bridle and under the top of the head there. And then that's how that looks with the top of that mane. All right, and then getting into articulation, these horses move really well. The head is on that ball jointed peg in there. So the head can come down, it can go up, and then it can go side to side as well. So there's a lot of good range in the head. And then the neck is the same thing. We've got a ball joint at that neck, and it can come down and up, and it can go off to the side. So these horses move really well. A lot of great range of motion. And here's what I'm talking about. Like when you go back, you got to be kind of careful because it'll pop this up. So then you got to kind of push it back in, but just, you know, be aware of stuff. And then when it's got all the stuff on there, it's, you know, you got to like pose it and then get all the gear situated. And then the front legs, they are on a hinge here, so they can kick forward and then they can kick back. They can also twist as well. So there's a lot of good options there for getting stuff in position and trying to work. A lot of good movement and subtle movement so that you can get it nice and flat-footed. It just takes some posing because getting all four is sort of like doing, you know, four things at once. That's kind of like just the nature of the situation when you have four legs. Then you have another hinge here and another twist here, sort of at the knee. And then down here, mine's pretty stiff. Let me see if I can do it. But you do have a hinge down at the foot and then back up here and then a twist as well. So lots of points of articulation. So you got hinge, swivel. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of articulation in each of the legs. And the back legs actually have a little bit more because that back leg is on a ball joint that can come out and in, and it can, you know, kick back and forth. And then you've got a hinge at the top of the leg, hinge at the, you know, the knee. It's like in the back leg, it's like a reverse knee here. And both of those have twists as well. So twist up here, twist down here, and then that same kind of hinge. It's hard to do because my grip here, but there's a hinge and a twist at the foot. So awesome figure. This is just absolutely like the top level of ornate, beautiful sculpture, cloth goods, like everything coming together, matches so perfectly with Gideon. Such an awesome addition to the collection. Really just like next level type of Legion stuff. Anyway, that'll do it for my review. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may the Force be with you.